Let's dive into spacing your sprinkler heads. First thing to know is how to insert them into your AutoCAD drawing. And right here you have select sprinkler. If you have not inserted a head at all, you're going to have to start right here. That pulls up this window, and right now we want to click on new symbol. Ignore that there's something existing. New symbol, and you get a preview of the different style heads if you scroll through this. It's a pretty long list. Some of these are a standard symbol. Other ones, when we get real varied, they're not as standard, and you just have to use a symbol you haven't already used. These right here would be sidewall heads. If we scroll back up to one that's not special, this I like to use for a concealed head. So remember head 7, a concealed head would have a cover plate where you couldn't see it in the ceiling so much. Your symbol here is typically for a dry pendant type sprinkler, and that is something you would either take from a warm space inside and it would poke outdoors where there's a chance of freezing, or if you have a walk-in freezer in a grocery store, that sort of thing. That is our symbol for existing sprinkler heads. That is the standard symbol for an upright head, like we're going to put in our mechanical room in this building. This is the normal symbol for a pendant sprinkler head. In this case, it's going to be a recessed or semi-recessed. If you hear somebody say recessed sprinkler head and semi-recessed sprinkler head, 9 times out of 10 they mean the exact same thing. So right now, the bulk of what we're going to insert is this recessed sprinkler head symbol. So we left click on head 1, we hit open, and it's on a drop. If it's not on a drop and it's a pendant sprinkler, you're probably doing something wrong. Okay. And then we want to make sure we describe it correctly. Usually your defaults here are fine just the way they are. And it says again, this head is on a drop. The drop diameter, 1 inch. That's the actual piece of pipe that's going to feed the sprinkler. Thread size, that's the thread size on the head itself, which means a 1 inch piece of pipe will supply a sprinkler head that only has a 1/2 inch thread, and there will need to be a 1/2 reducer fitting that allows those to be joined. So 1 inch drop, 1/2 inch thread, K factor 5.6. That has to do with hydraulic calculations. We'll get into that at a later date, but it's important to always associate 1/2 inch with 5.6. Ignore that, that's normal, 6 inches. If you describe this from the very start, you're all the better off. In this case, it's going to be a VK3021. I just happen to know what this model number is because we use it all the time, and that is a recessed pendant. No head adjustment, 3D head block. Go to choose 3D head, left click on here, and then we're going to do the same thing we did on the other view, and you can use your down arrow until you find the 3D style head we want to use. And for a recess symbol, we want to use that one right there. There may be another in here that's okay, not a lot of options, but this is showing that it has an escutcheon ring, and there's going to be an inner ring and your head on the pendant style. So 3D head 12 is the one we want. Hit open. And now we're going to hit OK. And right now it wants you to insert the very first sprinkler. And just put it off to the side so we can get started. Now if you come right here, because this is where we started with our new sprinkler head, if you click right here, it will insert the last head that you inserted. If you have more than one head type, you can use this button right here, say pick current head, and then down here I have some uprights. If I pick an upright, now it's going to insert that style block. Okay, I'm going to click and drag my I don't know how long the audio has been muted, but I'm not starting over. Okay, so I'm at my intersection point. I want my ortho locked. I do not want this drawing to be able to go sideways. That's not going to help us in this scenario. Sorry if that was fast. Lock the ortho, which is F8. If I hit F8, it kills my microphone. I want to go up 12 inches because we talked about this in the beginning, I believe. These are 2 foot by 4 foot ceiling tiles. And most projects, they're going to require us to go at what they call the quarter point or the center. And the quarter is 12 inches in, 24 inches in, or maybe you're 12 inches off the other side of the tile. So think of it like rows and columns. Centered would be 2 feet off, 12 inches down. In this case, we're not saying center a tile, we're going quarter points. So we go 12 inches off that intersection, and now I want to center myself between this 2 foot dimension. So let's go 12 inches to the north, and now this head is exactly what we did, 12 inches that way, 12 inches that way, and 12 that way. I know that this sprinkler head in this room is now sufficient based off the size. But here's your lesson in head spacing. An office is considered light hazard, and light hazard spaces are 225 square feet maximum. You are allowed to go up to 15 feet between 2 sprinklers. Now let me explain that and fix my text box a little because that bugs me. Up to 15 feet between heads. Let's pretend that none of this matters. I'm allowed to copy this head 15 feet away. That's as far as it can go. If it ends up at 15 foot 1, that head is now overspaced. So move it back 1 inch, 15 foot. You have a minimum between heads of 6 feet. That means I cannot copy this head 5 foot 11. It would be too close to one another. If this sprinkler head went off in a fire, the worry is that that spray pattern hits the next head closest to it and it stops it from going off. It takes away the heat that sets off that thermosensitive element, and now you have one head and a fire that's growing out of control because the other head should have gone off to help dump more water. 15 foot max, 6 inch minimum. Now, that 15 foot max, there's another rule that comes along with that. There is a max off the wall of 7 foot 6 inches. If that doesn't make sense to you right away, what is half of 15 feet? Half of 15 feet is 7 foot 6. This head right here measures right about 7 feet. So we know right away we are under 7'6", and we should be completely legal in this room. Now that you know light hazard, one head can cover a maximum of 225 square feet. You can have up to 15 feet between two sprinkler heads. They can not be any closer than 6 feet, and they can only be as far as 7'6" off of a wall. Let me tell you a special rule, and hope that it doesn't screw things up for you too quickly. There is something called a small room rule. And let me try and type this out again. All of this is in the NFPA 13 that you really have to take it on yourselves to read. Small rooms. A small room is 800 square feet or less. It also has to be light hazard, and it can only have one door into the room. There are some exceptions for that, but I've found in the last 15 years that those exceptions almost never work. So a small room is defined as a compartment 800 square feet or less and light hazard, and can only have one way in and out of the space. If there's more than one door, it has to have a header that is so deep, and it can't open more than a certain distance cumulative. So if both door openings are 4 foot wide, I believe that would be way too much. Doesn't happen. Small rooms. For this project, an office space, if one of these rooms, the head spacing is a little messed up, we now know that we have the small room rule that lets us take a room under 800 square feet, and we can actually take that minimum 7'6", and the heads can be up to 9 feet off one wall. Not two walls, just one. It can be up to 9 feet in one direction. If there were something, say a diffuser, where this sprinkler head is, so why don't we just do that? 24 and 24. If I really needed to put that sprinkler head right there, but the diffuser was in my way, I could move this head another 24 inches. Now I'm in the center of this 2x2 tile, and I can check my distance. Boom. That is close, but it is perfect. I am exactly 9 inches off that wall, and even though I'm over the generic rule for a light hazard room, I have the small room rule, which gives me the exception. Let's put this guy back. I actually could have hit undo a couple of times and sped that process up. Alright, audio is still working. I'm going to put my head back because we don't want to go 9 foot off that wall if we don't have to. Alright, now let's look at this a different way. I can look at this and see the difference. I believe you can. But Office 1 and Office 2 having the different ceiling layout, our head will actually be a little more centered in this room than what it is in this room. So let's explore another tool real quick, and instead of copying that sprinkler head, let's select it. Let's make sure we're on the current one. And now, before I click this anywhere, I'm gonna do Shift and right click at the same time, and let's go mid 2 points. Not as useful because it's 2x4 grid, but let's just practice using the tool. Pick your intersection, and in this case we want to be real careful we don't grab that by mistake again. Where the T-bar comes together, and then specify the intersection on the other side where the T-bar comes together, and our head is in the center of that ceiling tile. And while we are legal with the small room rule, We can always pull it in and require less water if we go 12 inches to the right. And now we are under our 7.6, under our 7.6. So this is how you're going to space heads through the rest of this room, rest of this building. Your offices duplicate the layout. So once you've done one, like office number 2, my usual process would be to simply copy from a base point and continue to use that base point. Oh, come on now. I am stuck. There, copy, intersection. I was clicking that, wasn't I? No. Oh. Okay, another lesson. I did not blow up these ceilings. I believe I mentioned that in a previous video, but the tools that we need to use do not work because these are all hatches. We want the hatches to go away. So I can select all of these individually, or if we want to do this a whole lot faster, if I pick one ceiling, left click, and now hit right click, there is select similar. Left click on that, and now I have grabbed all of the ceilings that are similar to these. I'm going to go up to explode, left click, and now all of those hatches have gone away and you have individual lines. That's what we wanted to see. Watch what happens if I left click and hit select similar now. Everything is grabbed. The other rooms, we still had a hatch. Now it sees this space as being the same as this space because we're just dealing with lines. Alright, left click, copy, and my base point, I usually grab a grid. In this case, you could grab the wall. Grab something that's away from all the other nonsense so that you can snap more easily as you move down. So let's try this point and intersection again, this point, and then the rooms start to change. So I can't copy those ones, but if I copy again, enter, intersection, let's grab this one this time just cause, intersection, and oh, our lines are off a little bit right here. We'll fix that. Oh no. And just that fast I forgot where my intersection point was. I'm not sure how I forgot that fast, but I sure did. Alright, let's pick a better point to stress that emphasis on being out of the way of other elements. Now if we had picked the corner of the room, that would have gone a lot faster. Pick something you're not going to forget. And because you don't want to keep zooming in and out, keep that line straight. We need to fix these two, which I'm really not sure why they look the way they do. Pick them both, move, intersection, intersection, and intersection again. Turn that off. I want to mute myself. And now both of those have been fixed. Yes, it was close. They work. All right, this process is going to get repeated throughout this building. Here, you're going to realize it's a completely different game, and the goal is to use as few sprinklers as possible because every sprinkler head is more money, it's more time, it's more material. We need to meet code's minimums. That's the job. Meet the code minimum, make the company money, make you and I money. Oh, and before I leave you to throw this around, let me give you a lesson on how to figure head spacing, and I hope that this is the best way to go about it. Let me grab this sprinkler head. Oh, you know what? We'll just use these rooms as they are. Alright, dimension, when you want to take a dimension, your auto dim button's right here. Left click, and we already know before these rooms are 10 by 12. So, what does that mean if these rooms are 10 by 12? Easy math, this room is 120 square feet. Does that mean this sprinkler head is protecting 120 square feet? Unfortunately, it does not. Really important I keep that mic on right now. What you have to do to figure the area of a sprinkler head is take the two longest distances off of a wall, since there's only one head in the room. It does change a little bit when you have more than one head to worry about. But instead of this being a 10 by 12 room and this sprinkler head protecting 120 square feet, we know that we are 7 foot off that wall and 6 foot off that wall, which means we are actually 14 foot by 12 feet. It makes a big difference in the way we do our hydraulics. The amount of water you need will change when the area your head is protecting changes. So make sure you're following me. Let me draw a line. Oh, it turned on all the stuff I used to have. Select similar. I'm just going to get that out of my way. Alright, I'm going to draw a line. So my branch lines are this yellow one right here with the L. Left click. And I'm going to go 6 feet to the north. And then I'm going to go 6 feet south. Let's go 7 feet east and west. Here is the science. This sprinkler head is not directional. I cannot tell it to throw more water this way and less water that way. All this head knows is that it has to have enough pressure to go 6 feet and 7 feet. But if it has to go 6 feet this direction, it has to go 6 feet that direction. And if it has to go 7 feet this way, it has to throw 7 feet the other. Yes, more water than necessary will be hitting this wall, but this is how the hydraulics work. Hopefully that makes sense. And if we're talking about this so we can visualize it all, we have to double that 7 foot. 7 times 2 is 14. And 14 times 12, because 6 times 2 is 12. Now we're 168 square feet instead of 120. If this sprinkler head were placed dead center in the room, it would be protecting 120 square feet. But today, that's not doable, and we have to do the math per code, which is doubling the distance off the wall. We will cover that more than once, so if that lost you just a little bit, don't worry. When we get into the rest of what I have put together, some open spaces where you have to worry more about just the heads, it will start to click. I know what those are. We've used this drawing so many times. Put those back in my finished version. Forget you saw that. Mains, I need to move those out. Select similar. You don't have the benefit of these already being in here. And I did it again. It's better to show you the mistakes than pause and start over, because they can be fixed more quickly than trying to undo them. If I missed one, doesn't matter, I can still move it just the same. I saw one more piece. You probably couldn't see that. And one more piece. Good Lord. 100 feet. All right. Mistakes and all. Ask me questions if you have them. But doing what we have just done through here, space the heads in the ceilings. This room right here is going to get the upright that I don't believe we've inserted yet. So let's select that. New symbol. Make sure it's the right one. Yep. This one is going to be on a sprig. Hit OK. 1 inch sprig, 1/2 inch pipe, K56. Let's go VK 300, brass upright. That's typical. Choose 3D block. And in this case, we want one that looks like just an upright sprinkler head, and that one right there will do it. 3D head 2, open, ignore again, hit OK, and drop our head. Now I will let you work on spacing this head in this room manually. Not that that's a hard thing to do, but ideally it will fall out dead center of this room. So I'm confident you've made it through high school. You can use the tools to figure out how to place this head middle of this room in both directions. All right, good luck.